ladies and gentlemen, we are live with the AfterBuzz, and here we go. If you're watching on YouTube, that is Nico looking into his phone, combing his hair.
What's left of it?
Yes, what little hair Nico at Jimian does have left. Nico, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Brandon, for having me.
We are doing the inaugural podcast version.
This is exciting.
Of the AfterBuzz. So if you ever want to check it out live, it is on YouTube. You just head to our KLAQ YouTube channel. And now we'll be saving it and we'll be uploading it to iTunes and to Google Play. So if you're listening to this, thank you for doing that. I appreciate it very much.
So you can check out the episodes forever, which will be helpful when at some point Brandon probably murders me, and then they have to go back to the AfterBuzz tapes.
Why would I murder you?
Well,
Kidnap? Maybe.
He gets angry.
I do not. I'm a very friendly person. All right, here we go. So anyway, let's get this AfterBuzz kicked off. And first and foremost, as you can see, I'm wearing my my Team Mexico jersey. This was bought to me. Bought for me. Can I call him my father-in-law yet, or do I have to wait until we're officially married? Fiance's dad?
What do you call him right now?
Guy?
Do you even attempt to speak Spanish with him?
No, because he speaks English.
Okay.
But I do attempt Spanish with her mom, because her mom only speaks Spanish, and it sounds awful, and hence the reason when I have tried to speak Spanish, I end up thanking my fiance for her lady parts because I mixed up el pan and la pan, and you don't want to do that. we were in a restaurant when it happened too, and if anybody hasn't heard this story before, we were at a brunch buffet, and she brought me some bread. I wanted to thank her for the bread, so I said, "Gracias por la pan." Don't say that, because that's basically saying thank you for the vagina.
Bad.
Yes. And so she starts laughing. Then her sister wants to know, so she kind of whispers it to her. So her sister starts laughing. I'm completely clueless. But then her dad picks up on what I said. I think he may have overheard me. So he's across the table just kind of mouthing the word to me. And it completely mortified my fiance and her sister, because they couldn't believe that their dad was actually saying that word.
He mouthed vagina. He mouthed vagina?
No, it wasn't that word.
Oh, he said.
Yeah. So, anyways, there we go. Anyway, so we got a whole bunch of different topics that I want to talk about today. One of which is The Staircase. It's a documentary that's on Netflix now. It's about an author by the name of Michael Peterson. Have you heard anything about this?
Yes. Well, I saw the trailer, and I know a little bit about Michael Peterson. But it seems like this is just another series in the ongoing fascination with criminal trials that have potentially been botched or mixed up.
Yeah, that's really kind of what it is. It's kind of like, that's why I got sucked into Making a Murderer and things like that. Which, if you ever want to see just a really funny spoof, go check out, I think it's American Vandal.
Yeah,
is that the one?
Spray painting? Or
somebody spray painted dick and balls all over cars, and
classic dick and balls.
So they were trying to figure out who did it, and it's a mockumentary, I guess, of Making a Murderer. But the whole thing with The Staircase is, so you've got Michael Peterson, famous author, who his wife died, and it was kind of under some odd circumstances where she was at the bottom of the stairs. And the defense's claim is that she fell down the stairs, and then obviously the prosecution's claim is that he murdered her. I'm on episode 11. It goes all the way to 13 episodes. The death happened back in 2011. The trial was in 2003. And I don't want to give away too much, because obviously if I'm telling you that you should watch this show, I should then go just tell you exactly what happened.
The death happened in 2011?
She died in 2001.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did I say 2011?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. So the death happened in 2001. The trial happened in 2003.
Okay.
And it's continued. The story has continued on from there on. So if you have not checked it out, I highly recommend checking it out.
Well, I saw the trailer, and it made it seem like it could have gone either way. You don't know if he's just an innocent guy who got caught up in this weird circumstance, or This is
Like he
somebody,
totally did it.
Yeah, who's been playing his entire life as a nice guy.
Well,
really
there's
a monster.
lots of different twists and turns in this thing, and I'm telling you, like, there's one curveball that's thrown in there. And you're like, oh, dude, like I totally could have seen that coming, but I totally didn't. And then, oh man, like it totally changes everything.
See, this is why I think he's gonna murder me because all he watches is true crime.
That's true. Like if you did like
How to get away
watch
with it.
Dateline, Snapped, all these different shows.
Snatched.
He wonders why I want to murder him. He's the show killer. All right, so I got to recommend The Staircase, another really good TV show that I just got into. It's been out for a few years now. It's an Amazon Prime show called Man in the High Castle.
Philip K. Dick, right?
The author.
Author was the original story.
So the premise of the movie or of this show is that the United States lost World War II, and it's been split kind of into actually three areas. So the East Coast, for the most part, that's Nazi Germany. That's the First Reich. The West Coast is Japan, and then there's also kind of a neutral area that kind of goes up and down the Rockies.
Is that Italy?
No. Why would Italy be the neutral area? That'd be Switzerland.
Oh, well, I didn't know you meant. I thought that was the third area.
No. Oh no. You're talking about the Axis countries. Gotcha. I see where you're going. That's much. At least as far as I know. And it's a great premise. I'm only like 1.5 episodes in because I got roped into The Staircase. But once I'm done with the Staircase, I'm going to jump back to Man in the High Castle because it's incredibly well done. It's incredibly well written. It's incredibly well acted. And it's one of those storylines that it leads you wanting to watch more. Like it's going to be a binge-worthy show because it's one of those ones that when an episode ends, you're going to be asking yourself, well, what the hell happened there? And you want to go to the next episode to kind of get the answer.
Oh, so it's like
to
a
your question.
series.
Exactly, and it's pretty well done. Another topic that I kind of wanted to bring up today, I'll touch on this one very quickly, is the Maynard James Keenan story. So Lisa had this in Rock News earlier on the show today. There was a woman who I believe posted on Reddit about a story where she claimed she was raped by Maynard back in 2000 when she was 17 years old. And then the story that I found had a Reddit response right after that said there's no way that this could have happened and he started poking holes kind of in this woman's story. And one of the biggest things that really stood out, and it's the first claim that this guy made, it was where, and I guess this guy, he's been backstage at a ton of different shows, so he kind of knows the scenario. But again, it's the internet, so you don't really know. And it's not fair to assume anything either. It's not fair to assume either way. But if this woman is making this claim, then obviously it does need to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's just another instance of something weird going on around entertainers. But you know why this doesn't surprise me that much?
Why is that?
I don't even know who Maynard is.
What?
And that is surprising to these guys, not me, but I figured out, oh, he must be a really nice guy then. From your guys' reactions, Maynard must have been somebody that you guys all looked at like, oh, this probably wouldn't be him.
I mean, I'm not going to assume either way. I am a huge Maynard James Keenan fan.
Yeah, like,
don't get me wrong.
Before this allegation, would you have ever thought, like, okay, that sounds like something we've done?
No, not at all. To me, not at all. But then again, there's so many of these actors out there, these artists that are having these claims made. Where, like, look at Bill Cosby. In the 80s, you had no way. That's why we made the celebrity sex scandal roulette, was because it's like, who in the world do you think could not possibly have any sort of a sex scandal attached to them? Because Bill Cosby in the 80s, he was America's dad. Like, he was this wholesome guy. He had this great show. His stand-up was all clean. He even complained to Eddie Murphy at one point, you're cursing too much. Like, maybe you should tone it down. Like, he was the wholesome guy. And come to find out, he was drugging chicks and raping them.
You tell Bill Cosby to suck.
Is that your Eddie Murphy? Oh, yeah, fantastic. But yeah, so I wanted to bring that up briefly, but I don't want to go too into detail on this Maynard James Keenan story because, we don't know a whole lot. There's no need for speculation. But in the two stories that were there was the one woman now from 2000, where she claimed that there was a heavyset woman that came to the front because her and her current boyfriend, they were at the front of the stage, and she asked if they wanted to go back in with the band. Only the girl was allowed to go back. But then this guy who claims to have all this information on basically Maynard's bands Tool, A Perfect Circle, and Lucifer, that there's never been a heavyset woman that's been one to hand out badges. It's always been his male security team that have done this. So it's one of those things that you're really going to have to wait and see how things play out. And what's unfortunate with a lot of this stuff too is, it just becomes a he said, she said.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Scott and I actually got into an argument when first reports came out about Chris Hardwick supposedly being
kind of abusive.
Yeah,
really, is what the story was.
A scumbag. And Scott was like, did you read the account? Like, it was so real. It's like, I can't believe this. I was arguing, well, I don't believe it yet, because just because of the one account doesn't mean much. With Cosby, you have like a pattern or a history of actions that all said it. Even with Louis, Louis was jacking off in green rooms for his female feature actor.
That thing was known. I mean,
yeah, it was known amongst comedians, especially too. I'd heard those rumors for a long time before.
We talked about that on the show like a year ago or a year and a half ago, long before any of this Me Too movement. Yeah. And it took down Louis C.K.
Actually, I think it was Carlos Mencia that told us that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things.
When those guys, when you see a history or a pattern of somebody's actions, then I'm more likely to be inclined. Like, okay, when I found out about Cosby, 40 women came out. It's like, okay, that's kind of hard to. But no, I've never heard anything about Chris Hardwick. If anything, the opposite. I've always heard that he had worked really hard to help certain female performers. Like one that had come on the show, Marcela Arguello was here, and like her entire career is due to Chris Hardwick. So it kind of didn't fit in with the personality. Now I'm not sure about Maynard, and that's why I asked you if you would have thought about this beforehand, or if there was any instance of this kind of stuff. But that's kind of hard with rock stars. They're always going to be groupies around.
That's very true. So I wanted to bring it up. I wanted to mention kind of the one big glaring thing that both stories, had in contrast with each other. But this is one of those things that's really going to need to be kind of flushed out at this point, especially with how big Maynard is in the rock world, and how the biggest news for the past year or so has had to do with Tool's new album and the fact that, we were going to get it in 2015. And now we're going to get it in 2016. 2017. 2018 is the year they're finally laying down the drum tracks. And no, it's going to be in 2019 or whatever. So this is a big, big rock story at this point. We're just going to have to wait and see kind of how everything unfolds. And so now to a real quick jump back to the World Cup here, because we got sidetracked a little bit. So pretty exciting day of matches already, to Buzz's dismay, as he got super upset with us because we were actually reacting to it. And I did find the audio, by the way, where he made the claim that the majority of the audience does not care.
He totally said that.
And he said it, and it was within 15 seconds later, right around 15, I believe, where he said, I didn't say the majority. And we're like, yeah, you did. Well, but that's when you can tell, like, he's just legitimately upset about something that he doesn't care about.
Yeah.
Is because he just gets super upset, and like his mind's always clouded anyway, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean.
So, quick recap of the games this morning. I apologize if you're checking this out on iTunes or Google Play, and you may be listening to this, and we already know who won this year's World Cup.
Yeah, this is 2 years from now. You guys are late.
Yeah, but anyway, so this morning you had Mexico just get steamrolled by Sweden, 3-0.
It really happened in the second half, though. Those last two.
Yeah, it was tied, and then all of a sudden in the second half, Sweden just came out like gangbusters. They got 3 goals. So then, of course, I switched over to the Germany-South Korea game because the whole thing was if Mexico lost, they needed Germany to either tie or lose. If Germany won with the goal differential, Mexico was going to be on the outside looking in. They weren't going to make it to the knockout rounds. And South Korea ended up scoring pretty late in that game. They ended up winning 2-0. But they ended up scoring pretty late, and that was when
nil like a soccer fan, and not 0.
And so it ended up being that South Korea ended up winning that match, and we reacted to it on the air. Poor Joanna. Oh my goodness. We put the YouTube right on her, and you didn't have to be watching the actual match. You could just follow Joanna's reactions and kind of realize what the heck was going on there. So anyway, the way the group wraps up.
You would have thought that it was like Balloon Boy or somebody was trapped in a tree.
Something serious happening. And that was the claim that I was trying to make to Buzz, is that people legitimately I think I can speak for the Mexican culture here
Yes, we
at
have
this
a
point.
representative.
At least I've been
Of
told.
the Mexican Society of White.
Since I'm marrying
husbands.
into it at this point, I mean, I can't really, but I can speak from my own experience with my fiance and her family and everybody else. Vast majority of them do care about Mexican soccer. I'm pretty sure that there's a whole lot out there that don't.
Brandon Coates, tell us what's on the mind of Mexican soccer fans everywhere.
Aye aye. So and that's what I was trying to get, because even I've always been a soccer fan, but even I'm seriously invested in the Mexican team at this point because my fiance and her whole family is. And that was one thing that I was trying to get across to Buzz, like they do care about this. And his immediate response was, the vast majority of people do not care. Why are you guys disrupting the show because of this? And quite frankly, it was because, I know we were going to be on a different topic, but I didn't want to talk about the Sarah Huckabee Sanders thing again. We've talked about it 3 consecutive days in a row. It's the exact same thing. So at that point, if there was any chance of us going back down that path, I'm going to do whatever I can to put up a roadblock.
Is this the third day?
I was so goddamn tired of talking about the Sarah Huckabee Sanders being asked to leave a restaurant. We've literally talked about it more than almost anything this entire week. No, we have talked about it more than anything else this entire week, and it started to bore me. But anyway, that's beside the point. So the way the group wrapped up, you got Sweden, they won the group. Mexico, they're the runner-up, so they both move on to the knockout round. Now, they're going to end up playing the winner of Group E. Mexico will be.
Oh.
Right now, do you know who is in first place in Group E?
South Korea?
No, that's their same group.
Oh.
No.
Portugal.
No. Brazil.
Oh.
Brazil is first. But Brazil, they play Serbia. If somehow Serbia wins and Brazil does not take first, then Mexico kind of lucks out, and they don't have to face Brazil in the first round of the knockout rounds. So that's kind of fingers crossed right now for Mexico. You're not going to have to go up against Brazil in that first round. So that's the hope. Of course, if you're listening
as
after the fact, then you already know what happened.
As we all know, Brazil has Pele, which means that they are a very strong team this year.
Yes. All right. So anyway, so that kind of wrapping up the World Cup right there. And then the final topic I wanted to talk about today is because I can't even remember how we were bringing it up on the show this week, but it had to do kind of with work ethic and being on time, Nico, and how it's really not difficult to do a good job. You almost have to actively try to do a bad job. Now, I see it as there's 3 different ways that you can treat any kind of a task. You can phone it in. Like, you can do bad at a job, which almost takes work. You can complete the task to the standards that are set ahead of you. Like, you do the bare minimum. You do whatever you can to be like, I completed that task, and then you move on.
Like Jim Knobs.
Well, no, he pursued more after the fact. If you think about it, he became manager at one point. He ended up getting to the point at the end of the series that he was selling so many copiers and paper. When Sabre bought them out, he reached his the limit, the cap.
Oh, yeah. The commission cap.
Yeah, the commission cap. So
no, I'm just saying,
that's when he's going around playing games with everybody.
I'm not talking about the lessons he learned over the course of 8 seasons.
Gotcha. But then on the third option, there is go above and beyond. And the one thing I've kind of started to notice, especially work ethic these days, is people they think that just doing the bare minimum is enough to be promoted and to advance in a company. And that's the furthest thing from the case. Obviously, the person who comes in subpar, it's easy to look at that and be like, okay, then this person's obviously going nowhere, to the point where they may eventually be let go. But if you just do the bare minimum, why would a company reward you for that? Very true. How many questions did I ask for today, Nico? So we played a game today.
I had all the questions. I just didn't type them out the same way.
All right, hold on. Okay, so we had a quiz today that was Classic Rock for Nico.
Okay,
Let me finish. Let me finish.
All right, go on.
So we had a quiz. It was Classic Rock for Nico.
Yes.
And then he was supposed to come up with Greek mythology questions for Buzz and Lisa. I told him to bring 15. I said this yesterday. When he came in this morning, he still didn't have them done. And then when he handed them to me the first time, there was 7.
You want to know why there were 7? Because I didn't have time to finish typing all 15. There.
But what I'm trying to get at is why wasn't it done yesterday?
I had them all on my phone. I just didn't put them into a format
Okay,
I
but
could
what
have given to you. Now I forgot that I could have just like emailed them to Brandon or put them on the
It's
messenger.
usually easiest.
But I wanted to have actual physical copies in the room anyways. So point Nico.
Not really, because the point is to have the task completed
Yeah, absolutely.
by the time we're going to do the bit.
Yes.
Was that task completed?
Yes.
No.
It was a task was done.
Hold on.
Questions were written.
No. Hold on. No. My question is, was the task completed? Meaning, did I have all 15 questions for me in front of me by the time we did the bit on the air?
Second.
No, that's not the question. My question is, was the task completed where I have all 15 questions in front of me when we were going to do the bit on the air?
You know, you can
That's
say
a yes or no question.
It was
Nico.
on the lighter side of the question.
It's on the yes or no. It's a yes or no question.
It leans towards the maybe.
No, it leans towards no, because the answer is no, I did not have all of the questions in front of me.
Now, I have a feeling you're going to try and frame this in the three work ethics you just described, as in doing the bare minimum, and then actively working hard at not doing a good job, or going above and beyond. All three of which are moot for this point.
Why is that?
Because I don't work here, and there are no consequences for me not giving you those questions, unless you just want me to not give you questions again.
Well, but then, so that claim, so do we promote your open mic nights on the air? Do we promote Nico's things on the air? Is it getting your name out there? Are there now more people who know you?
You never promote unless I ask. You're never asking me like, hey, what's going on? What can we help you promote this week? It's like, never. That is absolutely the zero question anybody would ask me. I have to actively be like, hey, Buzz, is there any way I can like mention this at the end of the break or something?
Well, that's on Buzz. That has nothing to do with me.
Well, that's what I mean. You never promoted anything I've done.
Wait a minute. Make that statement one more time.
Have you personally promoted what I've...
Me?
Yes.
What happens when Buzz is on vacation and I'm hosting the show?
Oh, well, have we ever...
Don't I plug your open mic nights every single time you've been in? And you come in, I ask if
last time that's happened, but
I ask if there's an open mic night, and we make sure that we plug the open mic night. Especially if there's a comedian coming in, if there's a guest, then we also make sure to plug Nico will be the opener if Nico happens to be the opener. Sometimes he's not, sometimes he is, and we always make sure to plug that.
I'll be opening for Carlos Mencia this week.
So what we're getting, the whole point that we're getting at here is you're saying there's no consequences.
What I'm telling you is that if the job you want me to do is critical, I guess I would understand it differently.
What do you mean?
Well, there's usually what are the job guidelines? That's usually how somebody knows whether they're doing their job or not. Is they're given actually a book.
Here's an example.
They're given a book of like job title,
okay,
expectations, duties to perform, those type of things.
Okay, so if this is the route that you want to go down,
yes,
then we can certainly go down that route where you've been given tasks and have not completed said tasks. When we did the donut bit on National Donut Day,
you harangued me for weeks about this.
Hold on, because it's the most glaring issue, where we said, Nico, show up at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
Did you show up at 7 o'clock that day?
No, I showed up at 8 o'clock.
Okay. There's been other instances as well where we have said, Nico, we need you here at this time. When the hunks came in, was that last week or the week before? And Buzz specifically told you, hey, we want you in tomorrow. Can you be in? I think he told you 7:30. What time did you show up that day?
Like 8.
Okay. So is this on time?
This is not exactly on time.
So I guess what I'm really trying to get at here is does it have to do with you needing a purpose to do a good job? Or does it have more to do with it doesn't matter?
I feel like it matters, but having a purpose really feels a lot better about things. And yeah, that would be nice.
people are noticing in the chat here that they've typed in that the only time Nico shows up on time is when there's a porn star in the studio, which is kind of true. And sometimes, because other times he has been late.
I haven't. Yeah, sometimes I've just been late to the porn star.
All right. So let me ask you this.
I feel like this was a trap. He was like, "Do you want to be on the AfterBuzz today?"
No. I warned you. I told you flat out. I said we're going to be talking about work ethic. And
I didn't know it'd be my work ethic.
What did you? Why do you think I'd bring it up? Because here's my next question for you too. Because this is something that I've never quite been able to wrap my brain around. Because if I'm going to do something, I always want to make damn sure it's the best possible thing I can do. I don't ever want to finish a task and leave the task thinking, well, I could have done that better, or I should have done this, simply out of not doing it.
Yes.
Now, if I make a mistake, that's absolutely fine. I will learn from that mistake, and you change it for the next time.
Yes, absolutely.
But what my question is, do you have pride in your work?
Do I have pride in my work? Yeah, absolutely. Like when the path I chose when I stopped wanting to pursue medicine and being an EMT led me to start doing comedy, which, as you know, is not a skill that you can pretty much pick up in a book. It's something that you
have to practice it. Like you have to go, like you have to be willing to go do it live. You have to be willing to go.
And there's still not even rules that apply to everybody. There's not like something that worked for Robin Williams that necessarily would work for somebody else. So you just got to figure it out on your own. And that was the cool thing about it. And I have taken a lot of pride in being able to understand that aspect and eventually be able to start being on stage. Now, what I'm trying to say is, I like being on the show. I take pride in the fact that I can make you guys giggle and laugh every once in a while. But that's what I really take pride in. Is if I can make you giggle or laugh, then that is the really extent of my focus in the past 5 years. Is being entertained.
So then, my next question for you is, what if we have some sort of a television show producer, somebody reaches out to the show because they know we have a lot of comedians on. We also know a lot of local comedians.
Yes.
And they're looking for somebody with a strong work ethic who they can put in front of a camera, who can help produce a show, and who they can rely on to show up on time and do stuff.
Yes.
Now, do you think you would get that recommendation from us?
I wouldn't ask you for it necessarily, but yeah, sure. I think there would be a nice letter or paragraph that might be able to be said.
Who in this building would stick their neck out, do you think? If one of the biggest problems that they're going to come to us with is like, we need to have somebody who shows up on time.
If the issue was writing submissions and on-air talent, if my writing submissions were great, if my audition killed, then that's what I think I should be judged on. And also the fact that I am completely professional when it comes to the performances I'm booked for all the shows I do, for everything I produce on my own. It is all meticulous and it all gets done behind the scenes, as needed. But, I like being on the show. This is more of something that takes effort to come onto for me. And there's really little in the way of reward for it, unless I really ask for it in terms of promotion and other things. And I don't even push Buzz to try and promote things too much because I feel like I bother him enough already.
The whole living in his house thing.
Yeah. So
but you're kind of missing my question here. What I'm trying to get So what I'm trying to get at is, what if, because it could be an opportunity, and I guess really what I'm trying to get at here is, I would understand just kind of, being able to show up whenever you want, if that's the case. But when there have been times where you have said, Nico, we need you here at this time. So hold on. Because then as a show, when we're mapping out the show, and we've got the big dry erase board, and I'm writing everything down, we're trying to plan a show.
I know.
And we're trying to plan stuff to be like, okay, well, Nico is supposed to be here at 7 o'clock, so we're going to plan this. When you don't show up at 7 o'clock, that's 4 people, myself, Buzz, Lisa, and Joanna, who all have to scramble to figure out how we're going to fill that break and what we're going to do because Nico was unable to show up on time. So let me ask you again. We have somebody who comes to us. They're looking for a recommendation. Now, hold on. No, you're not allowed to skew the question or change the question. Now let me ask you. This person comes to us and they're like, look, there's a TV show we're going to film here in El Paso. It's going to be run on a tight schedule. We need somebody reliable. That's all I'm going to leave it at. Is the word reliable.
Okay.
Let's say the 4 people on the show plus a couple of the bosses here.
Are there any other topics, by the way? I see you're
I'll bring up a couple. Hold on.
Like we're still
no, we're gonna wrap. This is gonna be the final question on this.
Okay.
Okay, it's because I feel like I beat you up enough here. Is that if like the 4 on the show and then also the 2 bosses, do you think of, like, let's say the 6 people, Kevin and Brad included, do you think that you would get the recommendation?
If you wanted a questionnaire to be filled out by all 6 of you, and somebody to say, would you use the word reliable to describe Nico Jimmy? No, I do not expect all 6 of you to write the word reliable. No, I do not. But
okay, you're moving the question.
No, well, I think I would get I think I could deserve a recommendation from Buzz at least about certain things, but I'm not going to talk about those right here. But no,
HJs.
The hand jobs. I give excellent hand jobs.
I knew there was payment happening for you to stay in that house.
I think they should be complimented. Those skills should be promoted. No, look, man. I know that you guys time everything out, and I always feel bad about missing stuff, and I will not do that in the future.
Not do what?
You've heard it here.
Not do what?
Be late for stuff. Be unreliable.
Are we gonna be able to hold you to that?
Yeah, I always thought you guys would make me like eat a stun gun or something.
Eat a stun gun.
But yeah, I know that's important and something I'm working on. You know, but at the same time, you don't have to work too hard to fill segments up.
All right. Well, I've beat up Nico enough. I do appreciate what you do for the show. I kind of wanted to point that out just a little bit because the thing with Nico is incredibly talented and Nico does work very hard. Hence the reason Nico almost always has his notebook with him at all times where he's writing. But the big glaring thing with Nico had to do with being able to show up on time, and it's just nobody's perfect. Nobody's gonna have a perfect track record. But it was, it was a different perspective because for me, that's not something like I'm the kind of person, and this is where we're different, and it can be considered a flaw. It can also be considered a positive depending on how you look at it. Is I'm the person who, if somebody asks me to be somewhere, I plan like I'm not going to be there on time. I'm going to be there early.
That's what makes Brandon a great producer. He is
not. I mean, technically, that is something that you have to have to be the producer.
Yeah, and that's what you're very good at. You're a perfectionist, and that's why they have you on the show to hold your ground there. But I feel like I'm a perfectionist when it comes to being funny or the comedy aspect of it.
Oh, then you're missing hard. Buddy.
Well, I'm not. I'm not being perfect at. I get comedy.
All right. Well, enough beating up on Nico. We do appreciate.
But no, I like that point of view because you wouldn't do something where you didn't give it 100%, and I always respected that. I think you would have a different point of view if you followed me around for a week.
Why is that?
Because you wouldn't be, and if you weren't working at the station.
Okay.
And then you'd be like, oh, what's my focus now? Then you'd be putting your awesome talents into that focus and whatever that was.
So it's just that you're like, it's not that you don't care about being on time or these other things. It's just that your efforts are being put somewhere else.
Yes. The majority. When I realized that there was not going to be a position here for a while, I realized I was going to have to start making money other ways.
Well, there was a position available at one point. There was a part-time weekend position we tried to help you out with.
I didn't want to be. I didn't want to do that.
You didn't work on your Pukey Boys? Hey, it's Nico and Jimmy and 95.5 KLAQ.
That's right.
Hey, dude, you know what that would have done for you? It would have taught you the rock music, man.
It would have done that. But then I would have lost all the comedy nights. And it was a nighttime gig and on the weekends, in which...
Well, that's true. There would be a pretty big scheduling conflict at that point. And that is where you do have to weigh, is it worth taking this part-time job for this kind of, fairly minimal amount of money for the dream that you're trying to pursue that you put, 5 years into now?
Yes.
So then you do have to obviously weigh those options, and I don't blame you for that at all.
And that's why I actually am not working on the ambulance anymore, because before I was only coming on the show once a week. depressed week, and having the ambulance wasn't allowing me to come into the show and do comedy at the same time. So in order to do both, I had to get rid of a job.
Well, we do have some things planned for Nico coming up on the show, and we appreciate Nico for being. Yeah, it definitely might be, and we'll be videotaping a lot of this stuff. And we do appreciate Nico for coming in. We do appreciate Nico for kind of being a punching bag quite frequently on the show. That's kind of the role that you, unfortunately,
I know my role.
Slid into a little bit. Yeah. But we can move on.
The only upsetting part is, though, that the people in the chat, all you guys now are treating me like the punching bag. All you think that you can talk to me like Brandon and Joanna. And
that's kind of true. Yeah, like Green Eyed Ghost is already saying $20 says this is the last time we see Nico on the AfterBuzz. No, that's the only time I'm going to beat him up. I promise. This is the only one. But we are pushing up past a half an hour here, so we need to start wrapping this up. But another thing, especially you being a comedian, one thing I did want to wrap up this AfterBuzz with was your thoughts on the Dave Chappelle, Jon Stewart show. Because I went Saturday, you checked it out on Sunday. It was one of the best things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was great. It was probably one of the best comedy shows that is out there. And they only did 8 performances. And those two, that is probably one of the greatest comedy shows you could go to, right? Like,
oh, absolutely.
Like to pay money for. That's probably why the tickets were so expensive.
Yeah, and so they started out with Mo Amir, who was hilarious.
Come out with a next Netflix special.
I thought he was brilliant. And the thing that I found really interesting was that there's no breaks. It went from Mo right into Jon Stewart, right into Dave Chappelle, and then as Dave Chappelle was like thanking everybody to walk off, Jon Stewart came back out. And the one thing that I noticed is you could tell they had their prepped material, but a lot of it too had to do with kind of riffing and stuff like that.
Well, that was the last 30 minutes when they both got to talk to each other, and then the audience was good. The whole no segues thing, it's a classic comic thing. Back in the day, you either had a comic and a musician on, or it was just straight comics and no transition. So.
And that was the thing I think Joanna almost thought was one of the funniest moments was Jon Stewart's wrapping up. Everybody's kind of getting out to leave.
You thought it was bathroom break time. Like it would have some music going on and let you go to the bathroom.
What were your thoughts on the Yonder case? So if you're not familiar with the Yonder case, it's kind of like a neoprene case for your cell phone that's got a lock. So you're not able to pull your phone out and check it during. Now, if you want to go out to the lobby, you can get it unlocked. You can check it really quick, but then you got to put it right back. Did you even notice that you weren't able to check your phone, or did you forget about it?
I couldn't check the time. That was one of the worst things. I didn't have a watch, so I had no idea what time it was the whole time. But it forced me to talk to my dad a lot more, which is cool. And I can see it not being a problem unless it's for those people that can't wait for the robot revolution to take them and upload them to the computer because they're on their phones so much. Maybe you might have a problem if you can't be away from it for that long. But no, it was fine. What do you think?
I ended up forgetting that it was even locked up at one point. But then what's the saddest part?
But you also have a watch on, so that must be nice.
True, I was able to check the time. But what I noticed was that when we were leaving, it's been 3 hours or so since my phone was locked up. First thing you do is you check your phone. Once it's out of the case, there's not a single message. There's not a single email. Nothing. And you start to be like, oh, fuck. Like...
That was kind of disappointing.
Like, that was the most disappointing thing. But then again, I was there with my fiance, so I'm like, well, who the hell's going to call me? Like, really, like, the only person that would need to contact me is her, and she's sitting next to me the whole show. So, but no, I thought it was brilliant. It's one of the best things I've ever seen. They were filming your show, too, correct?
Yeah, they're filming both, from what I hear. Scott had a friend, Scott also went, Lewis, and he had a friend that went to both. And apparently, Jon Stewart's material was... changed up between the first 2 shows, but he said that Dave Chappelle's was from both.
I could see that because Stewart's seemed to be more kind of ad lib, where Chappelle's, you could tell it was this planned prep. Now you got to see Chappelle try out the material.
Yeah,
right? When you were in
I
LA.
was in LA at the end of April, and we got a random pop in by Dave at the Comedy Store. It was like 12:30 at night. He just popped in, picked whoever was on off, and then he did an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, and he did a lot of the same material. The Louis C.K. bit. Oh, I'm not going to do it.
Well, I mean, you can like describe some of the topics.
The Louis C.K. bit about the whole Me Too stuff and the Monique, his settlement with Monique.
Was he doing the Chuck Berry sex tape,
And he did the Chuck Berry.
because that one had me
That one was
in
really
tears. Like, I was in tears. Like, you know how I was laughing when the first time we had Gay Joe on the show last Friday? I was laughing that hard at some of that Chappelle stuff. So
And now,
whatever they released that on, I recommend watching it, because Mo Amir didn't open every show. I believe they had Michael Che
Oh,
from
cool.
SNL do like the Boston shows. I didn't see who they had. I think they had Mo in Houston. I think he did both Houston and El Paso, but I believe it was Michael Che from SNL
That's cool.
that did the Boston show.
Nice. Well, now I've seen the Chuck Berry sex tape, so something good came of it.
All right, so a couple things here from the YouTube chat, and I'll just actually leave this for next week if you would like, because somebody here is saying, let's talk about Brandon. It's more interesting. And then Amelia says, no, just kidding. Nick O, you're funny.
Oh, well, thank you.
But no, I mean, here's the thing. If you guys ever have any questions, any topics that you want brought up on the AfterBuzz, preferably now topics where I'm not beating up on Nico for 20 straight minutes, by all means, you can email me. It's Brandon, BRANDON .Coates, COATES, @townsquaremedia.com. You can go ahead and fire me an email. You can ask any questions you want, any topics, and then next week on the AfterBuzz, we'll hopefully be able to cover all that stuff with you. I don't know about you, but I'm going to go watch me some soccer and see how the whole Brazil match goes. And I think that should wrap everything up. Is there anything?
Carlos Mencia is this week.
Here in El Paso.
El Paso.
You got to remember that a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. Here in El Paso. I'll be hosting. You want tickets?
Oh, so you will be. And real quick story before we wrap things up. That's how you met Buzz.
Well, that's not how I
Kind
met.
of.
That's not how I met him, because I've been bringing comics to the radio station for like a year before I was on the show.
Never knew Nico existed.
I just sat on the couch. But I had met Buzz, and then he was going to see Carlos for a show. Carlos likes to go to the strip clubs. We all went out afterwards, and then we were literally between a stripper, me and Buzz, and she was like putting her hands all over us, and I was like, dude, you should totally have me on someday. I'm pretty funny. He was like, oh, yeah, send me an email.
And then Nico.
At Buzz?
Was
Buzz
it-
at KLAQ.com.
And then Nico showed up late.
And then I showed up.
No, thank you, Nico.
I'm sure I was on time for like the first year.
No, I mean, yeah, for the most part, it's just the biggest thing is if we're planning a bit around
Yes,
you,
that is
just
a
be
very
on
big
time.
deal, and that is
Be on
something
time.
I should never do again.
All right. Well, thank you, Nico. I apologize for beating up on you for 20 minutes.
Whatever. You're like my older brother that I hate.
It kind of is. That's the way it is with me.
You see this coffee stain? This is Brandon.
Oh, you got a copy stand on your
That's a
shirt?
different shirt,
Oh,
but-
and that's another thing too. I got to tell you, like, what absolutely makes my day is just scaring the living bejesus out of Nico, because he's got the best reactions. But the problem is, I've been too stupid to film it. I need to start videotaping it, because Nico freezes like a fainting goat, where he like completely locks up, and he even screams a little bit, like kind of like a little high pitched squeal.
Well, somehow he plans it for when I have coffee, which would make, I think that
Now, do you always have coffee?
my brain is in between like saving the coffee and then reacting to the fight or flight response.
Like the last one that I did was right where the hallway like breaks to the left, and Nico was going straight, Buzz had gone left, and Nico had already turned around to keep walking away, and I'm able to kind of sneak up behind him, and when I scared him, I got the "Ah!" reaction out of him, and the coffee kind of went everywhere. So, but I'm telling you, if I start filming this stuff, I got a whole. I mean, they could do a Netflix series on scaring Nico at this point. It would be called not the staircase.
Not the staircase.
It'll be called
the
the
studio.
No, it'll be called the hallway.
No,
And that's how you wrap up and you bring things full circle, ladies and gentlemen.
that's professional right there.
Thank you for checking out AfterBuzz. Thank you, Nico.
No problem.
Wave goodbye to everybody.
Bye, guys.
While you check the